Okay. All right. Well, welcome everyone. Nice to see a few of you. Actually, so many of you. There's a few of you arrived now. I'm just going to run you through a snapshot of tonight's agenda, which you should have all received prior to this meeting via email. We anticipate that this meeting will run for approximately 45 minutes. I would like to open the meeting by acknowledging that Mountain Safety Collective meet, work and travel on the traditional lands of the Yamatang, Tanarung, Dutaroa, Gunai-Kurnai and the Gario people, and we pay our respects to their elders past, present and emerging. Now let me introduce to you the MSC committee. We've got Craig Shepherd, President of Operations, Owen Lansbury, Communications Director and Vice President, Coralie Reach, who is the current Treasurer, Rolf Schoenfeld, Merchandise, Membership and ATC Manager, Sam Robertson, Head of Fundraising, and myself, Melissa McHugh, as Secretary. Hello. I'll quickly run through some housekeeping and then we can get started. So if everyone can just keep their Zoom on mute, which it is at the moment, throughout the meeting, there'll be time for a Q&A at the end of tonight's meeting, and throughout the meeting, just feel free to use the chat box with any questions that arise, and we'll read out your questions on your behalf, along with the answers at the end. And then there was just one other thing. If you can also have your phone handy for tonight's election, we've popped a QR code up on one of the slides towards the end, and you can just scan this code to cast your vote, but we'll be running that a little bit later on in the meeting, so you've still got a little bit of time to organise that. All right, I'm going to start the meeting with a motion to accept the 2022 AGM minutes. This is just a formality that we have to do. So can I have someone from the committee to raise the motion to accept the 2022 minutes?
I'll accept it.
And anyone seconding this motion?
I'll second it.
Awesome. Minutes have been accepted. All right, I'm going to open the floor to Craig, who'll present the operations report.
Thanks, Mel. Yeah, my name is Craig Shepherd, the program manager, and tonight I'm just going to cover three things coming from the field, the operations team. This year we had a change to the regional forecast zones. I'll talk about a bit about that, the observation field teams, where we're at with them, and a bit of just a winter summary of the winter that was. So regarding the operational forecast zones, you can go to the next slide, Owen. Thank you. Previously, we had three zones. There were two in Victoria, the Front Range and the Dividing Range. And then in New South Wales, we had the Main Range. In 2023, we went to the two zones and the Victorian Alps, as well as the New South Wales Main Range. And so the reason for this, number one, was when we looked at the data of who was using the reports and where they were visiting, there were very, very few users of that Front Range category. The second issue was there's sparse information coming from that part of the range. And then the last thing was just the staffing problems of having people down there. However, that said, by going to the two regions, I just thought it was important to note that if there was ever anything specific in the so-called Front Range of Victoria, that could still be discussed in the Victorian Alps report. And so the people that we do talk to out of, say, Buller and Stirling, for example, if they ever saw something atypical, we definitely still have that in the reports. But that was a small change to the system. Also this year, we had a field team. So our field team grew, and we have myself looking after New South Wales and Kyle Boyes looking after Victoria. All these field team members were used as and when needed throughout the winter. As such, they had other jobs. A lot of them were patrollers and guides as such. The commonality is they all have the Canadian Avalanche Level 1 or equivalent from a country like New Zealand. And that's beneficial because MSC knows that they can go into the field safely and gather relevant, pertinent information from appropriate areas and know how to do so looking specifically within the snowpack. Previous to this year, we've relied a lot on volunteers and the public to feed in information, and we still get that information with excellent, but sometimes it left us wanting and there were gaps. By having a dedicated field team on an as and when basis really helped close those gaps. And this year we had a really good stream of information that was more consistent and steady throughout the season. With the field team, the Mountain Safety Collective, we're in a position to continue training. So I think this is a benefit for people that are joining the program in terms of helping them continue their professional development. When possible, we get the whole group together, but we did do training separately in New South Wales and Victoria. We didn't get a chance to get everybody together from the two states. Perhaps next year for a preseason get together would be good. But we're looking at things like improving our own search and rescue skills, doing patient care, doing snow profiles, looking at the crystals, and then also other people. Some of these people are going on to become guides and stuff, and so Kyle and myself have that background as well. So we could do things like teach them crevasse rescue and rope skills and lowers and raises and just sort of extracurricular activity now and again to keep them invested. Not sure if you had a chance to see us out there this year, but we were looking pretty spiffy. I mean, I never look as spiffy as Art, but MSC got a field observer jackets. A big shout out to Arc'teryx for these. The hopes here is that we're more identifiable when we're out in the field. And if you see us around, hope you come say hello and help initiate conversations and talk to people as we're traveling around doing the work that we do. We have a reporting platform that we do the daily backcountry condition reports from. We got this, I think, last year, so it's been in use for a couple of years now. But we just tweaked a couple of things. In the front end, things that you may have noticed is that we added a Bureau of Meteorology severe weather warning. So when those do happen in the mountains, we have the capability of putting that in our reports. And then in the spring, when we go to the spring conditions page, this is a small thing, but we added the archive button to that page. So even though we've stopped reporting daily, you can flip back through the archives and have a read of the reports and keep access to that throughout the year. There was one other change that we did, but that's more in the background of things. And that's this additional flexibility to the forecasters, because as we choose what the pertinent hazards are to the day, it comes up with a rating at the end of the day, and we wanted to sometimes either increase or decrease the rating. So we added that flexibility so we can be as accurate as possible. So these next couple of slides, they're going to look pretty messy and there's a lot of information there, but I added them because afterwards you'll have a copy of this and you can go over them. And I encourage you to reach out to me if you'd like to have a discussion about them more so. But the first thing we'll look at is the time profiles. And so each season for both regions, Victoria and New South Wales, the forecaster of the day is filling out a database of information with the relevant weather information as well as the hazards day. So you can see how this were mostly to moderate with one period of time of considerable. The surface condition, you can see the upper long line kind of in the middle, widespread ice. As everyone in the mountains knows, we had some long periods of widespread ice. But this sort of information we've been gathering now for 3 seasons, and hopefully as years go by, we have a greater correlation of looking exactly how these hazards play out year on year. And interestingly, the avalanches this year, 2 small avalanche periods in Victoria, and then the next slide in New South Wales had a few more avalanche periods, but you guys can have a look at that after. And then this next one, you thought those slides were busy. This one's way too busy. But what this does is gives you an idea, again, of looking at the overall hazard as a percentage of the season. So the surface conditions in the Alpine in Victoria, for example, widespread ice 60% of the season, which was, if you're out there, you understand that was the season that was. But yeah, those are the snapshots. So that's it for me for the operations, and I'm going to hand over to Owen for communications.
Thanks, Craig. I'm Owen for people that don't know me. So I'm just going to go to the first slide, and I've just got to check the video is working properly. Okay, I think that's working. So the first thing I wanted to talk about is all of the in-person events that we've done this year. The first one of those series was the Alpine Education Series. So that ended up selling out incredibly quickly. We apologize to everyone that couldn't go because they did sell out so quickly. We weren't anticipating that. So we do have plans for bigger venues in 2024 to accommodate that. We also did a smaller, more professional focused evening with Mammut in Melbourne, and that went very well. We're planning to do more of those. The Loving the Snow Life podcast, you might have listened to that. They had a pre-season social that we presented at. Just information about getting out into the backcountry. We did run a whole presentation for Thredbo Ski Patrol, building their avalanche awareness. And then we had Mountain Safety Collective's representatives on the Steep Reflections movie tour. And that had about 1,000 people attend across 8 locations. The movie went up on YouTube last week. It's had about 8,000 views since then. So that's been really big exposure for us through that channel. We had a big presence at the Victorian Backcountry Festival. Again, thank you to all the organisers of that. And then MSC ambassadors were very present at the Arc'teryx Backcountry Weekend in Jindabyne in early September, I think that was. And just today, we've been at the Snow Sport Industries of Australia trade show with a booth for MSC, and that's been going great. So we just got a couple of photos here. That was some of the Alpine Education Series. And this was our little booth that we've been manning all day, talking to people in the industry. And as part of the SIA booth, we've developed a range of collateral that can be reused for retail environments. So what we're trying to do is provide a connection between someone buying backcountry equipment and then being able to access relevant information about avalanche safety training they can do, how to understand the terrain that they might be skiing in, access the reports, all of those types of things. So I'm hoping that that's going to be quite a successful venture. And as I mentioned, the Steep Reflections movie has been seen by about 10,000 people already. And there's a whole segment in that movie that's dedicated to MSC, talking about what we do. And we've also done a small edit of that footage, which we put up on the MSC homepage if you want to have a look at that, just as a way to quickly explain what MSC does. Other media exposure that we've had through the season, we continued our partnership with Mountain Watch, and we're writing a weekly backcountry summary that went up every Friday so people could see what was coming up for the weekend in terms of conditions. Then we also had great success this year with National Parks and Wildlife Service in New South Wales to get our QR code links on their trailhead signs. That's been something Victoria's done for a couple of years already, so a bit behind the curve there, but finally got it done. And then links through to MSC reports from the National Parks and Wildlife website. We had really big coverage of the new avalanche training centre that we set up in Thredbo, which I'll talk about in a moment. And we've also got links through to that from sites like the Australian Ski Patrol website. We increased our ambassador roster to 8 people this year. And as part of that, Simon Murray, who was one of the MSC founders and has been on the committee for many years, had to roll off because of our constitutional requirements. We've made him an ambassador, so he can't disappear completely. Michaela Davis-Meehan, who's a Freeride World Tour winner, very prominent Australian freeride skier, snowboarder. She joined, has been pushing a lot of traffic our way. And Francesca Smee, who you might know as Chess, she's joined on alongside Dilla Robinson, who's a very prolific filmmaker and photographer, and has done a lot of work for us over the years. In terms of the website itself, so I think the main story here is that if there's not a lot of new snow, then people aren't looking for backcountry reports as much as in a season like last year. So we did have a 25% drop in overall traffic in that June 1st to August 31st period. And we really put that down to the fact that there was only 3 major storms through that period in New South Wales, and I think Victoria was similar. And between early July and mid-August, the backcountry was pretty unskiable just due to the ice cover. And that also resulted in the fact that there was very minor changes to the daily reports just because the conditions were Groundhog Day. And then because of the rapid warming in early September, we went into spring mode very quickly as well. But despite all of that, we still had 9,000 page views on the report landing pages, which is below what it was last year, but still really strong. And you can see some of the stats there in terms of this year compared to last year. I think most importantly, the traffic sources of where people are coming to the website reports are initiating. The most important learning here is that people know where to go now. So most of the traffic is direct, people typing in the website address, or they've already got it bookmarked. And then second to that is search engine terms that people are typing in, and they're not typing in avalanche report or backcountry report, they're typing in mountain safety collective. So just really good, strong awareness there of us as a service to go to. And in terms of where people are coming from, so 66% of them are on mobile devices. So we've still got a big focus on making sure everything's formatted well for mobile. And then in terms of the state breakdown, 45% from New South Wales, 34% from Victoria, and 9% from ACT. And we still get 12% of people from all over the world coming to the website. And the majority of that traffic does go straight to the conditions reports as well. So again, that's the intention. We also launched the Victorian Backcountry Companion website this year. If you haven't checked that out, please do so. Really amazing guides to all the backcountry zones in Victoria. And we had 5,000 visits to that site, 10,000 page views. So good coverage there. Again, conditions have probably dinted those numbers a bit. But then the big thing that we did this year with social media, so it was our first year of having a paid professional social media manager contracted to MSC, and her name is Savannah Evans, and she did a fantastic job. And the goal here was to really connect people with MSC content where they're actively consuming media, which is obviously through social. And we developed a really consistent social media schedule that really increased the content volume and frequency that we're able to put things out. A lot of that was resharing ambassador content, and that really helped drive engagement. And we had really good collaboration with some of our sponsors on shared content that we were developing too. And then in terms of overall reach, I'm not completely sure how these things work, but the reach that we had on Facebook was down a bit in 2023, but our Instagram reach was through the roof. And there's a couple of factors that I'll explain why that happens. So I think importantly with Instagram, we're just under 5,000 total users on our Instagram site now. And that's the largest following of any backcountry related organization in Australia, commercial or otherwise. And what we found is that developing video-based content, reels, using kind of trending audio clips with that was the thing that really kind of boosted our engagement on Instagram. And we even had 2 clips that we used some kind of trending songs on, and they had these huge numbers of engagement, like hundreds of thousands of people. And then we also put a lot of effort into doing short videos with spoken captions on them that related to safety and choosing gear and current conditions, those types of things. And they also had really good engagement with those as well. Yeah, so I think one of the things to point out is that anything that you've seen on a reel on Instagram or a story, we've also collated those into these little tabs at the top of Instagram. I think they're called collections or something. So you can go back and look at those if you need to. like I said, Facebook engagement was stagnant or a bit down, and we think that's following general trends of Facebook usage overall. But one of the other factors is because we're authoring content on Instagram as Reels, some of those get blocked when they're pushed through to Facebook automatically because of the audio that's being used. And we're finding that Facebook users don't really interact with things like stories and Reels like Instagram users do. They're much more inclined to interact with posts and photos and things that have newsy content. They tend to be the best performers. And we're also finding that the Facebook demographic is quite a bit older than Instagram, and you can see the breakdown of those numbers there. So I'm going to pass over to Sam to talk about our fundraising and membership.
Thanks, Owen. Definitely feeling like I'm in the older demographic. I'm definitely in the Facebook space. Owen, and just a comment in the meetings about the meeting link, might get you to have a quick look at. So jumping forward into fundraising and members. There we go. So a core component of MSC's funding does come from our individual members. So obviously the $50 a year that members pay is a key support for our services. Having come from the early years of MSC, where grants and sponsorship made up a significant component of our funding, it's been a really key strategic goal for us to build this sort of baseline funding at a sustainable level, so that regardless of what happens with grants that may come and go, as with sponsorships, we can really help support the ongoing services that we're investing in. And we are going to continue to look to grow that membership base. As you can see there on the side, lots of memberships going out. Thank you to Rolf and Nez once again, who put in a significant amount of their time getting all these packs out and some nice handwritten notes to people. I'll move forward to our membership drive. So 2023 was our second year following launching it last year. We had a great support from sponsors, as you can see there, brands Arc'teryx, Mammut, Atomic, Burton, Avalanche Training Australia, Marker, Threadbow, Milo Communicators, Salomon, Mountain Flow Wax, Wild Magazine and POC. The total pool was over $10,000 in prizes, and we really think that drove great engagement around people getting on board. And we through May the 1st to June 11, welcomed 202 new members to our member base, which is great. It was down on where we had hoped to be, and a bit of context around that we found through some analysis is we had quite a big upswing in 2022 with the significant discount that Arc'teryx offered to members as a part of that membership year that wasn't offered in 2023. And so we did have some people who it would appear were one-off memberships, but to continue to grow on that year and welcome 202 was a great result for us. Moving forward into the next slide. A bit of insight into who are our members, where are they coming from? You heard Owen talk a little bit earlier about huge interaction from New South Wales this year as our leading market. Yet from a membership perspective, sitting at 295 members, versus just claiming Victoria is still very strong at 479. It's a big opportunity for us for 2024 to convert some more of that New South Wales community who are engaging. We did have 9 international members, as well as a good spread across the other states. Through 2022 into 2023, we went through quite a large membership platform transition. So we went from Squarespace to Membership Works. Big call out to previous board member Nez Waters for that transition. So much work, data cleanup, etc., to migrate all of that information across. What this platform enables us to do is not only manage our memberships and the revenue attached to that, as well as our event registrations and calendar and so forth. So at this point in time, current snapshot, we've got 912 total accounts. 900 of those are paying members or family memberships, which brings us in that baseline funding, as I mentioned, of $46,200 for the year. We do have 12 ambassadors and contractors who do have free of charge memberships as part of their arrangements. And one of the changes that we also made to help reduce drop-offs in membership, but very much around the administration required around memberships and payments, was to remove the 1-year membership option and have an auto renewal service. Obviously, people can still opt out at any point in time, but that's something that we brought in for 2023. Over to the next one. Want to thank you to our sponsors. First of all, Arc'teryx, as you know, signature sponsor. They signed on last year for an initial partnership. Their engagement and support through their strategy, whether it be our events and content and supporting various causes, has been really strong. And we're proud to be wearing the brand with the field team. We have a... Can someone mute themselves? Got some background noise coming through. On to the next one. Our avalanche safety equipment partner, Mammoet. This is our second most prominent sponsorship, a big amount of support from them, a number of prizes through the year, but also the professional night was a great success, and we look forward to having more engagement around that side of the market with Mammoet. So thank you very much. Moving on to our next tier. So these are paid sponsorships, supporting sponsors from Thredbo, Julbo, White Room, and Last Frontier Heli. This allows the brands to have some shared communications with us, build some awareness around their support for MSC. So thank you very much to those. And the events supporters, so very much around our membership drive. Thank you to all the brands who sponsored with product support for those events, as well as some of our in-person events that we had. And to Parks Victoria as our government grant partner for this year, providing us with some funds to do the things that we need to do. So that's it from me. I'll be handing over to Coralie to give the Treasurer's report.
Slide. Next slide. So these are our financial statements. So just to make note that they are till our financial year starts at the 1st of June. So these are predominantly for what you're seeing is from last year. So some of the costs have gone up because we are, in particular for their forecasting, we're getting people that are professional. But what we budgeted for was actually higher than what we've so far paid. And this is because some of the field days during we lost field days during the widespread ice weeks. And some of our observers were paid up front and therefore we weren't charged this year. Also this year we hired a social media manager. And yeah, I think that's it. And move on to the next one. Oh yes, so our AGM requires that we confirm our membership fee. So we're going to confirm that it will be still $50 fee for 2024. So we have, as mentioned earlier, that we've made it as an automatic renewal, which just again with admin costs, it helps reduce our, as we are predominantly volunteers, it does help sort of reduce a lot of that sort of work. However, members can contact MSC at any time to cancel your membership. And then I'll move on to Ralph.
Hello. Well, this year was a big year. We installed a second avalanche training center at Thredbo. It's located behind Eagle's Nest. Typical setup for an avalanche training center is a ballpark figure is about $25,000. For Thredbo, this was funded pretty much 50-50 between Thredbo and MSC. some stats on the ATC at Thredbo. It registered 169 standard exercises and 20 expert exercises. It was used by a lot of tour operators, by the Thredbo backcountry program tours operators, and by other operators to teach their clients on how to do companion rescue. The Hotham ATC had a bit of a slow year this year with only 98 standard exercises and 14 expert exercises. I put that down to the fact that for half the season there wasn't enough snow cover on the victims. So let's hope for more snow next year. During the Victorian Backcountry Festival, MSC ran an avalanche rescue competition, and this year we had 11 teams of 3 people compete in 3 disciplines, which was beacon and probe search, probing, which we see in the sensory probing. Got to be careful here. Which we see on the left, where we had 5 different objects buried in the snow, and the teams were able to discuss what they thought they were probing at, which is a really good practice. So you know which part of a buried body you are discovering. And speed shoveling, which we see in the right picture. Personally, I'd like to see that we do one of those in New South Wales next year, and that will perhaps be up at the Thredbo ATC. Now, next picture would be the remote. In Victoria, we've been working on remote snowpack observation and camera setups. These are planned for the locations of Bogong, Walk, Woolooloo, and Mount Feathertop. The reason for that is the approach for people to do observations there is quite time consuming. It's not as easy as in New South Wales, where you could just slip up and cross over and dig a pit. At Feathertop, you got to hike in for 2.5 to 3 hours. They've been providing a lot of data, which has been analyzed, and we're still fine-tuning everything. This year we tried the snowpack to register the snowfalls with infrared sensors, and discovered that infrared and snow doesn't work. So the next step was a laser measuring device to register how much snow is falling during a weather event. And I believe for next year we'll have this all dialed in. And once it's all dialed in, we'll be able to make this data, or at least images of the cameras, available to members. So stay tuned. Thanks.
All right, I'm going to come back in to look at the goals for 2024. Like Owen was talking about with our community engagement, our events are selling out really, really quickly. So in 2024, we definitely want to look at increasing the capacity of those events, and perhaps looking at other venues or other towns per se. We would also like to, as our membership grows and it becomes more onerous to maintain it, we're looking at professionalizing some of the other services that would be required of us. Within the operation, in terms of the field team, always looking at the longevity of the program, and succession planning is very important. So as I was talking about with training of the field observers, we're looking at a professional development fund so that these people can continue to grow and be with MSC in years to come. And then the last thing is looking to have one standardized public platform for sharing observations. Right now we get them from the public, which is excellent, but we get them in all various ways, which we're happy to do, but would love to see that streamlined into one platform so that when public is looking to input into the MSC system, they have one go-to place. And now I'm going to hand it over to, I think, Cora Lee, who's going to help us do an election for the committee.
Okay, so our constitution mandates that we must have 3 seats declared vacant each year, regardless if the person wants to vacate the position. So we've got 3 seats declared vacant and we've got 4 candidates standing. So what we'll do is we'll get each candidate to talk a little bit about themselves and explain why they're standing for election, and then we'll do an online vote. We will have a QR code that you can use with your phone to vote, or you can try and copy the website to also vote. It is a secret ballot, so yeah. All right, I think we've got up first. It's Melissa.
Everyone, I'm back. Okay, my name's Melissa. I'm based in Victoria. I've been a keen snowboarder for years, learning in Canada back in 2004, I think. And then recently got into split boarding probably about 5 years ago, and have been a big supporter of MSC in all that it does in the backcountry recreation space in Vic in New South Wales for as long as I can remember. I've only been formally involved with MSC for a couple of short months in the secretarial role. But as I said, yeah, I've been following MSC since the beginning. I think back when it was going by the name of SnowSense in probably 2016 or so. More recently, helped out Roll for Nez with some merchandise packs from that went out this year. And after that time, I took the opportunity a bit later on to become formally involved as secretary. And I would like to continue because I haven't been here very long. That's all.
Okay, next, Rolf.
Yes. So I've this year or this last year, I've been doing the membership, and we've been doing here out of. We're based in Smoko at the base of Feathertop, and we've had merchandise and membership in the house for well, since the start really. And yeah, I'm happy to continue with that because yeah, you do need a bit of space available to lay out all those packs and send them off. So happy to do it for another year or 2. Thanks.
And next up, we've got Tony. Tony, you unmute yourself and put your video on. That would be great if you can give it.
I can't put my video on because it won't let me. Someone needs to.
No, hopefully, yeah, we've got you.
All good. Hello, I'm Tony, based in Sydney, New South Wales. I've been into snow sports for 25 odd years or so, and been playing in the backcountry for about the last 10. Have been introduced to the MSC since it was originally promoted by Simon in New South Wales at Splitfest, I think. And yeah, really impressed with what you guys do, and would like to help out where I can. I'm a technology guy by trade, and interested in what you're doing in terms of the cameras out there. There are some other technologies that I'm interested in as well, and would like to introduce that to the MSC if possible. So happy to help out where I can.
Great, thanks. And last we've got Owen, and I just also we might try and share the link in the chat as well. So we'll try and put that the QR link or the website link on the chat. So for those who can't, who are actually using their phones to watch this.
Thanks, Carly. Sorry, I'm here trying to run the actual Zoom call at the same time as doing everything else. Can you actually see me up there on screen? Yep. Okay. So I'm Owen back again. So I have been involved with MSC for the past 3.5 years, I think, and was a member long before that as well. I work as a backcountry guide for Thredbo through the winter, and what else do I do? Do lots of MSC stuff. So I think the main thing for me is I came in at a time when we were moving from being purely volunteer-based to starting to professionalize. The first role that I had was overseeing fundraising and putting a sponsorship program in place. I've now passed that on to Sam to manage. This year, the focus was on boosting our communications, and I think we've done really well with that so far. And it's one of those jobs that I feel is kind of half finished. And my goal would be to have another 2-year term to really get us to a point of long-term sustainability with both funding and strong membership and really great awareness of what we do. And hope you support my candidacy to do that. Back to you, Carly.
Unmute myself. Okay, so you can, Mel has just shared the QR code into the chat box. Alternatively, you can use this QR to with your phone. So just select your 3 preferred candidates, and yeah. So again, it is voting details will not be published to maintain privacy. So we've got what is it now? 7:42. So maybe we'll do 7:48. We'll close it, or 7:50. How about we go, just round it up. That should give 8 minutes. And I think we might just continue on while people vote. Actually, well, we've got some general Q&As.
Okay, I'm happy to go through the chat if you like, and address people's questions. Well, at least read them out, and then if someone, Owen.
Can I just jump in, guys? The link that's been shared is the actual editable link for the form.
That's only if you have editable powers.
Okay. Cool.
Yep. So you'll need to click into or just open the link in a browser that you're not logged in. If anyone else is seeing that, let us know. You should just see a form that you can complete.
I'll do the QR code to be safe.
Yeah, I think we may have changed a couple of things on. So quickly, if you could double check the first 2 questions.
That's going to require me to multitask again.
I just copied and pasted that from the slides.
Okay.
So I thought
we're all good.
Okay. All right.
Yeah,
Are you?
Yeah. So Narelle and Rolf, you are using the editable version and changing the questions. So you have to open a new browser.
Technology.
G'day, it's Vol Norris here. I've logged in using the copied the code off your chat, but the first question I'm seeing is outdoorsisfree@gmail.com.
Yeah, no, that's
sure.
It should be fixed now.
Okay.
The issue we've got is the MSC committee members have editable access to the form and started changing it.
Cool.
So
All
you
right.
should see your email address, your full name. If you're voting on behalf of a proxy, you can add their name there. Bearing in mind that proxy needs to be pre-registered, and then you just select your 3 preferred candidates and click submit. Rolf, can you stop using that form, please?
Yeah, I'm seeing Rolf email address as the first question now.
I'll
Where is he?
You have to open the link in a different browser, Rolf. You can't be logged in. Sorry. Okay, does that seem to be running
Any-
correctly now?
Yep. First question is your email address.
Great.
Thank you for everyone's patience. All right, so Q&A.
Yes. Where are we? Back to the chat.
Are you able
Oh,
to put the QR code back up on? Thank you.
So I'm just going to read the questions on everyone's behalf, and then if one of you guys on the committee want to jump in at any time to answer, that'd be great. All right, we've got a message. So this was just from, it's not so much of a question, but from Colin Lightbody via the registration form. He's not currently in here right now, but he popped in before. He's talking about self-arrest training opportunities, which would be beneficial for Australian and New Zealand conditions. These could be informal sessions on an appropriate slope with a safe run out. Any thoughts?
I can answer that. So while MSC is an educational service through our website, we do not conduct in-person training unless it's in the context of a festival or something like that. The main reason being is that there's lots of professional training services out there in the community who can offer these types of things. So if you're interested in specific skill development, there's likely to be things like ski mountaineering courses that you can join, or you can hire a professional guide and get them to take you out and teach you what you want to learn.
Thank you. All right, on to Anne's question. Anne Chu. We've got, can page views have reduced due to Victoria going from 3 zones / reports down to 2 zones reports, hence Victorians only looking at 1 page instead of reading 2?
Yeah, I can answer that. And yeah, we did consider that, and it's a possibility. However, those numbers, like I was saying, were very, very small. So it wasn't that drop that we saw. It was would have maybe been 1%.
Okay, thank you. All right, just scrolling down here. Oh yes, so from Ross McSweeney. Any further thoughts on extending condition reports past resort closure dates since backcountry use does not stop within with resort closure?
Yeah, again, I'll take this one. Thanks, Ross, for the question. It is a good question, and we do get that from time to time. In the springtime, when storms come through, like what happened this year, we went to spring mode early because of the predictability of it, and then the storm came through in September, so we ramped it back up during that storm and through the storm, and then for a few days after the storm until we were back in spring conditions. So we do have the capacity to do that, but oftentimes, although I totally agree that people are out there well into the springtime and up until Christmas last year, the predictability of the snowpack with the melt and refreeze doesn't warrant doing the reports on a continual basis in the spring, which is why we've done it that way.
Thank you. I've got a few statements here rather than questions. Sam Lee, making the images from the cams available to members is fantastic. Thumbs up. And then, all right, so good to have an ATC at Guthiga, which is increasingly the backcountry start point. Thanks to the success of the backcountry centre in the chairlift station. Guthiga is more proximate to the high avalanche risk areas off Tate and the Crags.
You want to tag team on this one, Craig?
Yeah, sure. Anthony, thanks for the comment. I would say that prior to installing an ATC in New South Wales, that MSC had conversations with a number of different organizations and commercial operations. And there were limitations with Guthiga, which is in the end why it didn't go in there. But I fully take on board your point and think you have good ideas there. But in the end, through the conversations with the various operators and whatnot in New South Wales, it ended up where it was. And Owen, your thoughts?
Well, I could direct you to, there's a blog post talking about the New South Wales ATC that goes into some detail around this. But at the end of the day, it was a case of having a partnership with an organization that supported the installation and was able to support us in terms of maintenance and storage and all of those types of things. And then the other factor was consistent snow cover. Unfortunately, in a year like this, Guthiga was wiped out by mid-August, whereas we were able to keep the ATC more or less to the end of the season at Thredbo at much higher altitude. And obviously we can't take it too far from vehicle access. So it needs to be quite close to vehicle access. Hope that answers
probably
your
answers
question.
the last one of the similar questions from Ross here. Charlotte's Pass could be added to this as well, but vehicle access and things. But
Yeah, and again, it's this kind of balance of the best access for the most number of people. And obviously with Thredbo largely requiring chairlift access to get to it, that was a big consideration that we deliberated on. Charlotte's would be even more of that situation of not being able to get there unless you're paying for over snow transport.
thank you. Then we've got another one from Anthony Slater. Is there a constitutional limit of only 3 committee members? And if not, would it be helpful for the committee to have 4?
I can answer that again because I've been reading the Constitution as anyone can. It's available to download off the website. So we have a constitutional requirement for 6 committee seats, and 3 of those are made vacant each year. So then we have rolling 2-year terms of 3 seats. What we have done in previous years, if there's certain issues that people are really passionate about, then we have complete flexibility to form subcommittees. So if there's certain things that you're really keen on seeing get up, please come to us with a proposal, and we can look at just forming a subcommittee if it's something that MSC can support. And we've had plenty of examples of that in the past. Most recently, we had a female backcountry subcommittee to drive female participation, and I think we got great results out of that. So by all means, approach us if you've got similar things that you'd like to see happen.
Thanks, Owen. And then we've got a question from Jane Birch. Can any insurance options for backcountry activities be recommended, or do MSC have any plan on having any affiliations with any insurance options?
I can probably answer that one again.
I just want to say hi to Jane Birch. I hope you had a great trip out there. Go ahead, Owen.
Yeah, so this is a constant issue trying to get insurance to go overseas for backcountry trips. The hardest thing to do is find insurance that will cover you for backcountry without a guide. I've done lots and lots of research on this myself. So at this point in time, we don't really have the numbers, I think, to approach an insurance company to say we're going to bring you all this business. But it's definitely something that we could inquire. And again, if it's something that you're passionate about and want to follow up on, then by all means do so. And if it's something that we can support, then we would. I know that the New Zealand Mountaineering Club, they've got something like that in place. And then also the Austrian Alpine Club. Now, having said that, you can actually join the Austrian Alpine Club to get emergency rescue insurance up to 25,000 euros per person for a pretty nominal fee. So if you're needing that type of cover to go to Japan, where getting rescued can get really expensive, I'd recommend that. There are also a couple of Australian companies that are offering pretty comprehensive backcountry insurance. I don't think it's appropriate for me to refer them in this forum, but if you want to send us an email, I'm happy to share who I personally use. And they're a big, well-known Australian company.
Cool, thanks, Owen. And then Matt Chan, are there any plans to partner with any organisations overseas, New Zealand, Canada, Japan, for example?
Matt, thanks for the question. At this time, there isn't. I would say, honestly, the organizations with those countries and with ourselves, everything's fairly siloed. That said, I definitely still maintain my ties to Canada and the Canadian Avalanche Association with my professional membership. And we also have people who have a New Zealand background. So we do our best to keep our fingers on the pulse of what are happening in those other countries. But we don't have a plan per se to formalize any or create any formal partnerships with the organizations.
Thanks, Craig. Then we've got a question from Rion. I'm relatively new to MSC. Are there any meet and greet events through the year? I live in Melbourne.
I'll answer that one. So we have a pre-season Alpine education series in May next year. So that's the main one that we'll be focusing on. And then just keep an eye out. There's lots of kind of backcountry focused movies and things like that. And I know that Protect Our Winters are starting to get very active with their own events. They're good friends of ours. Support them.
Thanks, Owen.
But we will kind of notify people when there's other events from other organizations too, through our email newsletter and social media. So
Awesome. And then we've got one from Callum. In the industry, is there any plan to run future courses such as an Operations 1 as part of our future development?
This question ties into the recommendation about the self-rescue in steep icy terrain, and that MSC ourselves, we're not a commercial operator. As a not-for-profit organization, we don't offer these courses. The level 1 that was run in Australia was done by a commercial operator, Alpine Access Australia, and the MSC, we don't provide them. So I'm not sure what other commercial operations intents are for future courses in Australia.
Awesome. All right, I think that wraps up the Q&A. If there's no other questions to come through, I'm at the bottom of the chat now. Moving on to the fun stuff.
Okay, so we do have a clear result. So there's 3 preferred candidates. So we had Owen at 47%, Mel at 44%, and Ralph at 42%. So yeah, that's the result.
Okay. This is the fun bit. That was also the fun bit. This is the fun bit. I was a slide ahead there. Door prizes. Okay, where's my notes here? All right. So the first lucky door prize winner of a $750 online Arc'teryx voucher is Adrian Beer. Well done, Adrian. We've got a couple more. So the next lucky door prize winner of a $500 online Arc'teryx voucher is Sarah Boyd. Woo! And Lucky last, the winner of a $250 online Arterix voucher is Christina Morovic. Hopefully I pronounced that right. Congratulations. Yes, well, that about wraps up our AGM for 2023. Thanks to everyone for coming and your continued support. We couldn't do it without you. Did any of the other committee members want to jump on in there and share the love?
I would just like to say our line is always open if people have comments and suggestions that they'd like to see happen. So please just contact us through the website. Just use the contact form. We'll endeavour to answer quickly. And we did recently have someone come to us with an issue that they wanted us to bring up with one of our partners. And that's the type of thing that we can facilitate from a community representation level as well.
Thanks, everyone.
Yep, thank you.